So after this first property that you bought, you lived in it for, I think you said 2 years, got the roommates going. What was your next step in this whole real estate journey?
Mhm. Yeah, this is where it gets fun. I got some fun stories for this one. So I bought my first property, lived in it for 6 months. Like I said, I was intentional. I had some entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs, business professionals come live with me because that's the environment I wanted to surround myself with. And within 6 months, it was just obvious that this was changing my life, but also everyone else's life in the house. It's like, oh, this could be an interesting concept. At the same time, I get a new job because my current job, I was actually still in Portland, Oregon.
Okay.
And they didn't know this, but I ended up just moving to Arizona during COVID. I'm like, guys, you can't even go, knock on businesses and sell copiers. So might as well be in some sunshine while I make calls. So I was in Arizona. And then fast forward, I get a new job, a software sales job, and I'm in training. And so while I'm in training for this new job, I'm also hunting for my second house because I'm out of room. So people are like, hey, Jesse, we want to move into this house that you created. We love the environment. I'm like, all right, let me go look for a second house. Plus, it was on my notebook, my journal to do that for 2021. So I was super blessed. I had someone across the street say, hey, Jesse, I'm looking to sell. I love the concept that you're doing. I know my house is ideal. Do you want to buy my house? I'm like, it has a pool. It has the extra parking. It has all the bedrooms. Absolutely.
Yep.
I go there, about to sign the contract. We already have a verbal agreement. And then all of a sudden, he hits me up the next day, says, hey, Jesse, sold it to Open Door for $20,000 more. I'm like,
Oof.
cool, bro. Like, I would have paid the 20 grand because I actually really wanted the house. So I could have sat there and moped, and I maybe did for like 24 hours. And I started binging this TV show called Undercover Billionaire. I don't know. Have you heard of it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Dude, it's so good. So anyone who wants some inspiration, go watch that show. And so I was sat there watching it for like 24 hours. And then people would, see me just binging the show. And I'm not a big person to watch this TV. So they're like, dude, are you good? I'm like, yeah, man. I thought I was going to buy a house, but I wasn't able to. And then I looked at one of them like, dude, I'm going to go buy a house in like the next couple of days. Just watch. And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I got a plan. I've heard of wholesalers going and knocking on doors. I don't really know how this is going to happen, but I'm going to find another house in this neighborhood. And so that Saturday, I put a backwards hat on and I'm like, I can't look like pest control. I can't look like a solar salesman. So I got to act like I'm just your neighbor, which I was. And so I'm just going like jogging every 4 minutes, stopping, knocking on the door. And everyone was like, dude, what are you doing here? I was like, hey, I'm your neighbor. Super random, but someone actually ended up renting my house and I'm now homeless. That was kind of like my pitch. And so this is just to say, like, guys, you can get creative. Like, I did not have a script. Like, let's go do it. Take some action and see what
Yeah.
happens. And so everyone's like, all right, it's kind of weird, but good to meet you as my homeless neighbor. So I'm going like the rest of the day. It's hot outside. I'm sweating. I see one house across from the park. I'm like, oh, that house could be good because that's parking along the park edge. And so I go there, knock on the door. Sweetest Jamaican couple. Hey, Jesse, how are you doing? Great to meet you. Sorry, we're not the owner. We're actually renters. I'm like, oh, okay, good to meet you. About to leave. And they said, but we actually just bought a house. So in my head, I'm like, this house is going to be vacant.
Yeah.
I wonder if they're going to sell it. So I say, hey, can I connect with the owner? They said, absolutely. So I actually ended up connecting with the agent who they just bought another house from. Long story short, we make an offer that same day. 30 days later, we close on the house.
Wow.
That's how I bought my second house, was by door knocking in my neighborhood. And the last house I knocked on the door, we were able to get. Crazy.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I think just like going outside the box, like, and just doing something is like what I'm pulling from it. Cause there's so many ways to
Mhm.
like find deals. A lot of people are struggling with that. But like just the fact that you door knocked, I mean, that takes some balls for sure. Um,
It is funny because, like, I, like, reflected on it afterwards. I'm like, "What did I learn from this?"
Mhm.
And I think for that first day when I was kinda moping around, I was just like I was almost content. I'm like, "You know what? I don't need to hit this second house. I already bought my first house. It took me 5 years to buy my first house. What gives me the right to be like, 'Hey, I'm gonna buy 2 houses in the first year of buying my first one?'"
Yeah.
And I almost use God as an excuse. I'm a person of faith. I'm a Christian. So I was just like, "Maybe it's not in God's timing." And I thought about it for a second. I'm like, maybe God's just like, Jesse, I really throw one obstacle in your way and you're just like, oh, it's not in God's timing. So I'm like, I'm not going to use God as an excuse. And so I kind of came up with a quote that's kind of like based on a couple quotes where it's like, if God closes a door, go check to see if it's unlocked. And so I literally did that. I was like, let me go check another door to see if that was unlocked. And so that's kind of like something that I just kind of took away because I'm always someone that likes to reflect. If I have a win or a loss, what did I learn from it? And so to kind of continue that story and kind of how I left corporate and how this growth house concept started was at that same time, I get the second house and literally a week after it closes, which this would have been bad if it happened before. A week after the house closes, I get a email. And I was the number one, like one of the top people in sales in my last company. I got recruited over to this company. So in my head, there's no possibility that an email from HR would be bad, which is, stupid thing. And so I get an email from HR and the HR lady say, "Hey, we'd love to talk to you." I'm like, "Okay, awesome." Like, did I get promoted? And so I get on the call and she's like, "Hey, Jesse, you're still in training and we're going to have to cut half the team. And because you haven't been able to produce, because you're in training, we have to cut you." And I was just kind of confused. I was like, "Oh, okay." And they're like, "But, potentially there's a severance package. And then also we want you to actually interview for the team right below you because they have a spot open on the team." So I'm like, "Okay, whatever." And I almost forgot at the time, but in my journal, along with those two houses, I had one more thing. I wrote down, I don't know why I picked this date, but I wrote down February of 2022, quit corporate America. And so just remember that date as I share the story. So I'm with HR and then I get, to have a call with the other managers. As I'm on the call with the other managers, the whole time I'm just like getting rubbed the wrong way. I'm like, "You guys like know that I got recruited to be in the sales position ahead of you and you're just like trying to big dog me. Like, Jesse, why is your schedule empty?" I'm like, "Cause you guys fired me. I'm not going to book calls for my last week just to give someone else commission. Like, I'm looking for a new job potentially." So they're just trying to like throw all these random things at me. And the last question they ask, they just hit me a certain way. I remember this so vividly. I'm on a Zoom call with them and they go, "Jesse, we're not sure about you. So sell yourself to us." I'm like, interesting. I know I'm in sales. I get the question. But at the end of the day, it's like, is this really what I want to do for the rest of my life? Do I want to be dictated, by someone else's schedule and someone else's job? And so I look at them and I say, "Hey guys, can you remind me what the salary is for this position again?" They told me the salary. It's right around six figures. And in my head, I'm adding up all the income that I'm going to get from the house hack, the first one, and then the second house. And then when I move out, I'm going to be clearing six figures. So I look at them and said, "Hey, guess what, guys? I'm not going to sell myself to you because you guys can't afford me." And I ended the call right there. That's how I left corporate America.